And as a matter of fact, the truth of the matter is that these 12 steps will change the lives of any human being who's willing to work them. So we're going to at least carry the message to our families and our loved ones, perhaps even to the people that we work with, whether they're alcoholics and addicts or not. And by our very example, perhaps some of them will want what we have, and then we'll be able to show them how to get it. But nevertheless, we've been given the grace now to be teachers. And you'll hear around these rooms, there are no teachers in AA, and that's a terrible shame. That isn't what Bill Wilson said. He said that the sole purpose of an AA group is the teaching and practice of the 12 steps. And so when somebody calls me a teacher, I don't object. It's a compliment. I don't pretend to be any kind of a guru, and I'm not talking about anything here that I'm making up. You almost never hear me give you my opinion, because everything we need to know, you and me, is right here in the book. And in this group, we're studying this book word for word. We're parsing sentences. We're making sure that we understand each as we go. And this way, when we finish together, we'll have a real strong understanding of what this book tells us and how it works. And then finally, after we have carried the message, there's one more part of the 12 steps that we must not forget. It's so critically important that we practice these principles in all of our affairs. Now, the word principles there means the steps. The steps are the principles are the steps. That's why that thing, the principles behind the steps, is so phony. It's an oxymoron. You can't have a principle behind a principle. There's no such thing. Principle as far as it goes. Actually, what they wrote down there was a bunch of wonderful things to be, kind of character we'd like to be, wonderful traits that we'd like to have, sterling qualities we'd like to have. None of them rises to the pinnacle of being a principle. So it's just a bunch of nonsense. But if you memorized them, I would suggest to you that you unmemorize them. Because anybody who tells you that you take these principles behind the steps and work them and they become the way you live your life, you're going to recover and you'll have a principled way of life. And that's balderdash. And half of that stuff is going to come to us only because we do work the steps, but they come in different places in the steps. For example, honesty and humility are products of the 5th step. Look it up on page 73, it's right there. And so we have to kind of disregard these things that people have put together. They're dangerous because they lead us on a false path. You see, go back to the basics and then we don't get lost. The basic is that you and I are alcoholics. We have a disease which we cannot recover from on our own, and it's going to kill us if we don't recover. And the basic fact there is that if we don't stop drinking, we will die, and we can't stop drinking on our own. So there's the catch. That's what powerlessness means. I can't stop. It doesn't matter how much I may want to. It doesn't matter how much I may fear the consequences of my next drunk. It doesn't matter how many times I may be thrown in jail or have to go to treatment centers. There are people in this room who have been to 15 treatment centers, for God's sake. They may be in jail 4 or 5 times. Did that ever stop us from drinking? Hell no. Because we're powerless over that next drink. That's what the 1st step means. The only hope we have is to put a loving God between us and the booze, and that's what the 12 steps do for us. And when we remember that, then we're going to put aside all this phony baloney stuff out there, these human solutions that don't work. They're going to try to teach us that if we have enough knowledge about ourselves and why we drink, that we will stop drinking. Absolutely false. They're going to tell us that if we become afraid enough about the consequence of drinking, that we won't drink. Absolutely false. That's what powerlessness means. If you've taken the 1st step and you've admitted your powerlessness, think what it means. I can't stop.